Okay, great. So I think we'll just introduce ourselves before we get started. So I'm Alicia.
My name's Anish.
I'm
Hi.
I'm Vivaan.
Yeah, we
Okay.
all 10th grade students at the Dhirubhai Ambani International School, and we're speaking to you because this is a part of our Global Perspectives team project.
Okay.
And we've introduced ourselves, but we'd love to get to know you a little bit better as well. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your Facebook page and your organization, so that we get a little bit of background and we get to know you a bit further.
So I'm Rachel. I'm sure Alicia has told you that. And it was this entirely new journey for me, having lived in domestic help. So I thought these are my problems, these are my issues. Why is it happening to me? Am I doing something wrong? And then from there was a lot of like outpouring of a lot of people having similar, not so good stories. Some people having these really happy stories. Some people recommending and saying, "Oh, I had this nanny; she was super, and now my child's grown up. If you want, I can send her across to you." So it just became like it just started like this huge kind of social group kind of thing where everybody, all of us obviously have domestic help. I mean, I'm sure all your families at home, you have a bunch of people who help you guys out and work for you all. And I feel like it's such a big part of our lives, like domestic help, but no one really talks about it in the way we should talk about it. Like, I'm sure a lot of people complain about it, and it's just whatever, but they make our life so much better. And so somewhere along the way, it went from being like this, "Oh my God, this happened to me. She did this to my child," to there's so many wonderful people out there doing, so many wonderful things who, help out. And people started referring help. Like, I needed a driver, and someone would be like, "This driver worked for me. I don't need him anymore. He's looking for a job." It became this whole, from a referencing community, it became this whole referral community. So now what's happened is that it's kind of like this whole holistic network of people helping each other with domestic help, like all kinds of help, not even just domestic help. Like we have even like, basic office staff, like peons or like, errand boys, things like that. So, you look for help, you get help. If you need to, find a reference, unfortunately, it's very disorganized sector. So there's no concept of getting a reference. So while when you hire someone for your office, you do this whole background check on them. You can't do that with domestic help at this point.
Yeah.
And at some level, it's a little scary because obviously you're letting these people into your home, into your lives. You want to know where they're from, what's their background, which you can't access. So this is kind of a way, like, to get some sort of real-time reference about people. So yeah. That's what the community is, and that's how it started out.
And I think that's such a nice story, going from your personal anecdote into actually how your organization came to be.
Yeah, so I'm sure on like this community that you've created on Facebook, obviously, that you must be getting a lot of experiences from like domestic workers themselves, like how they are treated and what the facilities or treatments that are provided on average are for them. So can you just give us some insight into that?
They have a lot of issues. Like, they have things that, they're not given adequate food. That seems to be the biggest issue with most domestic help. Like, I don't know where that, I don't know where that thought process comes from employers, but, they're not given basic 3 square meals a day. I mean, you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if not more than that. They're not given that. Basic things like it's really hot, they're not allowed to use fans. I've had people come and say like, itni garmi hai, or bolte ki matlab pankha chalu mat karo. So and the logic is that you come from places where you don't have fans in your home, so why do you need to use ours over here? Silly things like if you take a bath, you should have a bath only for 5 minutes. Why do you want to waste water? It's not like you guys have water back in your villages. Little complaints that seem really people think they're not relevant. These things are not relevant to them because they obviously come from poorer sections of society. But it's very relevant because, I mean, they're living in our homes, and the least we can all do is give them an opportunity to have a better life than what they have back in their homes. So, yeah, even things like rest, like minimum rest. I think labor, I think work maybe 8 or 9 hour days, but because they're in your homes, the mindset for many people is to make them work the whole day, which is not physically possible for them. And, I've had people come and complain to me and say, our feet are really hurting because, we're on our feet the whole day. But our employers expect us, you can't be sitting around free. If you don't have anything to do, look for something to do and keep at it. So yeah, it's really sad.
That was really insightful and like a key element to this issue we are already researching on. Another aspect we wanted to know is that have you ever noticed on a Facebook a page about the domestic workforce working in houses of a lower income that are treated better, worse, or differently than those who are working at a house with a higher income?
I think you can't really put it down to how they treat it, whether they're treated better or worse in different income group households. I think it's just the mindset of the person they're working from. Like I've heard from a lot of people, in fact, in lower income groups, they're treated really well because at some level, they're more like part of the family than they are at maybe higher income groups who, come with their own preset notions about, distance between workers and themselves. But you have, a lot of higher income groups, and especially like I think like nannies, because they look after our kids and they're part of our lives. I mean, if you're good enough to be with my baby the whole day and look after my baby the whole day, then you're part of my family. There's no this thing about it. So I think it's very person specific. I mean, they could be treated really well in a low income household and a high income household and vice versa. So there's no fixed
So why do you think domestic workers leave their job, and what do you think makes them stay, even if there might be some incentive to leave? Why would they still stay?
Thank you. I think they leave their jobs for many reasons. Some is as simple as they're just not happy. They don't know how, I think a big issue with them is they don't know how to tell you. So where someone working in an office would probably come and say, okay, things are not working out. Here's my notice period. I'm quitting. I think they find it really difficult to come to you and say that, it's not working out for me, maybe because they don't know how employers would react to someone saying that. So they just pretty much, I think it's as they go home, that's a big thing. When they go home on their annual leave, which I think most of them go home for like a month at some point of the year, either May or December or whatever that is. And they don't return back to the same family. They don't return back to the same home. Or they stay on in their villages much longer because they obviously need a break or whatever it is. But yeah, if they're not happy, then again, they probably just go on a day off, don't come back. That seems to happen a lot. But yeah.
And again, the reasons for them wanting to leave would be, again, not getting the food, the rest, the the lodging, just basic things.
It's just things like that. It's something, they're not happy with the work. I think, it obviously takes them a while to adjust to any household. Sometimes the work's too much. Sometimes they just don't like the work. I mean, fair enough. Sometimes if you have a cooking or it's something they've not estimated, like what happens is a lot of domestic help who comes into the city, and this is Bombay specific. I don't know about, the rest of the country. They come in for, top work jobs like the sweeping and the swabbing and the dusting. But I think jobs like cooking and nannies tend to pay much more. So then they think, okay, maybe I'll swap profiles, but then they don't fit into that. Like, they either not great cooks or they can't really handling a child is a huge responsibility for anybody. If then that work doesn't really suit them, then obviously they just leave. But so it's pretty much the reasons for quitting can be right from them just missing their family and wanting to go home to, not liking the work or not liking the conditions or things like that. Like I even had someone, she worked with a neighbor of mine. I think the room, the quarters that they gave them to live, it didn't really have a window. So the girl said that, where I'm from, I think she was from like Chhattisgarh or something. She said, we have these really open houses and they're really airy and stuff. And I'm really sorry, but I'm so claustrophobic over here that I can't work here. I mean, I'm very happy. I mean, I like you guys and I like the work is fine, but the room just makes me too claustrophobic. So it's
thank you for that. And Have you ever noticed any type of correlation between gender and the way that like an employee is treated? Like, is there any disparity that you have seen?
I feel the women are treated much better. I feel the women are treated much better. I don't know I can't fathom what the reason behind that is, but I've seen people expect much more from their male staff, more work, much more work. And they're spoken to really badly. I've seen them being spoken to really badly, where as for some reason, the women are, spoken to comparatively much nicer, and, you don't expect that much of work out of them. But I have seen a huge disparity.
And I think in conclusion, the last little question that we had for you is, how do you think we can raise awareness on this topic? Because I think speaking to you, we've actually realized that it's much bigger of a problem than what we thought it would be. So how do you think are some methods that we can raise awareness on this?
So, I think because it's such a disorganized sector, that's why there's so much of, lack of awareness or lack of any proper organized system. There's so much of labor that comes into all the big cities every year, from all the interiors. So there's no way, and they're not educated, right? So there's, a string of people waiting to unfortunately exploit them. So, by maybe creating some sort of system for them where you have minimum wage, where you have, work hours, specific rest hours. I don't know how you would even, put meals and things like that into it. But there has to be some basic system for employers and employees. We've obviously spoken a lot about domestic health, but it's a problem both ways. The other way around, a lot of employers have issues that they shouldn't have. On our community, there's just no organizational system. There needs to be some organization that protects both employers and employees from getting exploited either ways. But I think you need a system. There's a whole lot of middlemen in this whole domestic health sector that doesn't really help protect their rights. So maybe if they were aware that this needs to be our minimum wage, these need to be our working hours, and all of them, everywhere, I think in bigger cities they still stand up for themselves a bit, but I think as you go further into interiors, it's just there's no concept of that. So yeah.
Great. So I think that was everything that we needed, that we wanted to ask you. And I think this is really insightful. So thank you so much once again for speaking with us.
My pleasure.